you ever thought to yourself, when is that product or information going to arrive? Well, in this lecture, we're going to answer the question, what is the just-in-time system? We've all heard about that lean that you always hear, and the just-in-time system, and many people think that they are the same. And while there are some similarities, the two systems are in fact different. Generally speaking, the just-in-time system makes up one pillar of a lean organization, and although the principles and techniques can be applied to service environments, the just-in-time philosophy is mainly used in manufacturing. The philosophy helps an organization achieve three main focuses: produce only what your customers want, produce when your customers want, and produce only the amount your customers want. In short, the just-in-time system or philosophy produces what is needed, when it's needed, and in the quantity needed. When you think of just-in-time, inventory should come to mind. Whether the inventory is information or material-based is not important. But the just-in-time system seeks to improve the flow, management, and control of inventory. There are typically four main goals associated with the just-in-time philosophy, beginning with having only the required inventory on hand when it is needed and in the proper quantity. Have zero defects across all aspects of the organization, reduce lead times by producing only what the customer demands, eliminating waste, reducing setup times and lot sizes, and finally, continuously improving all operations. As you may have guessed, these four goals may be difficult to achieve in a traditional batch, lot, or mass manufacturing environment. These environments seek to spread costs over the pool of products and often stock inventory that is later pulled and shipped to customers. In addition, traditional manufacturing methods must dedicate one line to a limited number of products or suffer the consequences of lengthy changeover times. By implementing the just-in-time system, an organization is better able to produce a variety of products in a shorter lead time, in a smaller quantity to meet the needs of their customers. This oftentimes requires organizations to change the way they look at production and analyze just how they can build to customer demand, create flow and balance, develop appropriate schedules, and continuously improve every day. Over the next few modules, we will look at some of the changes that you will embark on in your just-in-time journey. Now, before we go, I'd like to introduce a question you can answer in the comments or upcoming assignment section. That question is, have you ever used the just-in-time system? If so, what tips do you have for the community? Well, we look forward to hearing your thoughts on the just-in-time system and interacting with each of you as we take a deep dive into the just-in-time system. So, let's get moving now. We would not want to show up late for a system with a name like Just-in-Time. In today's global environment, and with the number of different systems that a company might embark on, understanding the benefits of any system is critical. Companies must meet the demands of their customers or they will not be competitive. For example, customers today want to buy a variety of products in the exact amount they need without price increases. On top of this, they want perfect quality and the fastest delivery possible. Did we mention along with those wants, customers always want the best price? The just-in-time system achieves these customer desires through the elimination of waste. Let's look at a few of the positive effects of the JIT system's focus on waste. First, it lowers overhead expenses. Because the primary goal of the just-in-time system is to have what is needed, when it's needed, in the quantity needed, this enables organizations to reduce their overhead expenses and ensure they have what customers need. This occurs because just-in-time organizations only carry what they need, which keeps resources free to engage in other value-adding activities. By doing this, customers are better served, while, at the same time, lowering the cost of doing business. Next, organizations that implement just-in-time lower supply chain costs, which results in lower customer costs. Efficient supply chains have the ability to deliver lower costs at all levels of a supply chain. As the costs of each echelon in a supply chain are reduced, those savings can then be passed on to the customer, which in turn makes a company's products more affordable and creates a sustainable competitive advantage for the organization. This also helps a company acquire and sustain a larger market share over its competitors. In addition to these benefits, JIT gives a company better control of manufacturing. The JIT model gives a manufacturer unprecedented control over their manufacturing processes. This in turn enables a company to be more responsive to customer needs and changes. Manufacturers can ramp up production of an in-demand product and quickly scale down production on items that are slowing down or may be nearing the end of their life cycle. This helps companies avoid the massive stockpiles of inventory that oftentimes need to be liquidated or cleared out at below market value prices. Finally, just-in-time gives companies a better use of their space. When an organization reduces inventory, they free up resources to employ them in other parts of the organization. Stores, for example, can renovate warehouses. The extra space can then be used to expand retail locations. Manufacturers that implement just-in-time can also save space. For example, they can convert warehouse or distribution areas into manufacturing space. This can then be used to ramp up production if needed. As you can see, the just-in-time system can yield many benefits, everything from freeing up resources to enhancing an organization's space. That leaves us with only one question. How do we get started identifying waste and achieving the full benefits of the just-in-time philosophy? Well, we'll find out shortly. But before we do, let's stretch our minds a little bit by answering the following question in the upcoming assignment or comments section. As you look at a process, what are the most common forms of waste you identify? Well, thanks for watching, friends, and we'll see you in the next video. Oh, hi there, and welcome to this brief introduction to waste and its identification within the just-in-time system. While this won't be a deep dive into the 8 forms of waste, this lecture will be enough to get you started. Much like Lean, the removal of waste is absolutely foundational in the just-in-time system. This begs the question, what is waste? Waste can be defined as any activity that does not add value to a product or service. In many cases, waste not only adds no value, but adds costs instead. Waste, or non-value, generally has 3 defining characteristics to it. It does not transform or add value in any way, shape, or form. Nobody is willing to be a customer or pay for the activity. And finally, something in the product or service was not performed correctly the first time through. One thing to note about waste is that in addition to enhanced cost, waste also extends the lead time of products and services, ties up resources, and prevents resources from being used in an effective way. There are 8 forms of waste you will see on the screen that you should be aware of. Be sure to check the resource section for handouts or the description where you can find more resources that will help you learn about waste. As you eliminate or reduce waste in your organization, you will better be able to accomplish the goal of having what is needed, when it's needed, and in the quantity needed. Now, before we move on, be sure to review the 8 forms of waste visual. Also, please consider writing down your thoughts, commenting, or answering this question in the upcoming assignment or comment section. Given the definition of non-value that you learned about, what are 3 activities that you can think of that are wasteful or add no value to a product or process? Well, thanks for watching, my friends. We look forward to reading over your answers and seeing you back here on Lean Strategies International LLC, where you can find solutions that ignite your power. Have you ever intentionally made leftovers or ordered extra food? You pack it up, put it in the fridge, and have every intention of eating it. A week later, you check your food, and it's gone bad. Shelf life is one risk you take when you overproduce. In the case of our leftovers, we lost money, time, and a tasty meal. Overproduction is one of the 8 major forms of waste. It occurs when materials, services, or information are created earlier or in excess of the needed demand. Overproduction, oftentimes referred to as the deadliest form of waste because it directly causes and enlarges other forms of waste, while indirectly contributing to many others. When overproduction occurs, inventory is built up. This consumes space, time, and other resources. However, at the heart of the waste of overproduction is that it hides problems. Inventory can be used to buffer late deliveries, hide defects, cover up variability in demand, and mask the waste of waiting. In addition to this, massive amounts of overproduction can make it nearly impossible to gauge and understand what your true potential is with regards to capacity. Some examples of overproduction include producing too much information or products, producing information or products quicker than they are actually needed, creating orders that are not ready to be processed, and sending too many emails. Many companies feel that they must overproduce because they build products or perform services in large lots or batches. This batch-type production typically occurs to either spread the cost over many products and services or to avoid lengthy changeovers that make no economic sense. While long runs and avoiding frequent changeovers may make sense on the surface, many organizations look beyond the damage that the buildup of excess inventory can do. For example, carrying costs, storage costs, material costs, management costs, stockout costs all rise with the amount of overproduction that occurs. In addition to this, more space is needed in simply handling and processing unneeded items. It prevents resources from actually working on those items that do have demand and ties up quite a bit of your assets. Overproduction is a real killer. Before we go, consider this question. What other impacts does making items that are not needed or have no demand associated with them cause? You can write your answers down, start a discussion with the community, or answer in the upcoming assignment. In the next lecture, we will take a look at another form of waste that is magnified by the deadly waste of overproduction. We'll see you then. While we've discussed inventory in other lectures, the topic begs for frequent review. One of the most distinctive effects of overproduction is the buildup of excess inventory waste. Inventory waste is any unnecessary storage of materials, products, or information. Another way to think of it is the buildup of materials or information at any stage of a process or value stream. This can include raw materials, work in progress, or finished goods or information. Buildup of inventory is sometimes a common practice in organizations, as inventory can help hide problems like defects, long setup and changeover times, machine and information downtime, late deliveries from your supply chain, and unbalanced production or schedules. Regardless of what inventory covers up, inventory that is not associated with demand is waste, and hiding it only results in magnified forms of waste or more problems. For example, no company has unlimited storage, space, or people. As companies build inventory, they must have space to store the inventory, time to find the inventory, materials to protect it, and people to manage it. None of these activities are value-adding. Another common issue that pops up is the more inventory you have, the more possibilities there are for damage. Damage can occur during storage of inventory, during the production process, and during handling of your inventory. Transportation is another form of waste that follows the creation of excess inventory. Most forms of inventory will need to be transported in some way at some time. Transportation is magnified when excess inventory is created. Processes that build in bulk typically require mechanization such as forklifts, carts, and/or people to move the inventory. This adds cost to the process and certainly does not create any value during the transportation phase. Finally, making inventory that has absolutely no demand attached to it creates waiting and delays. Every piece of inventory must wait for others to finish before they can begin. The final thing that you need to consider with regards to inventory is that as long as inventory is not sold, the resources used to create the inventory remain tied up. This includes financial resources, time, materials, and energy. So, how do we remove the waste from inventory? While you will never remove every form of waste in any organization, there are ways to drastically reduce it and remove it at some points in the process. Organizations use the just-in-time system to build only the inventory that is needed, when it's needed, in the quantity that is needed. Over the next few modules, we will dig into methods like leveled production, the famed Kanban system, and measurements like tack time. These and a few other surprises will undoubtedly help us reduce this waste of inventory. Now, before we go, please consider this question. What problems or issues does inventory cause in your organization? You can write your answers down, start a discussion with the community, or answer in the upcoming assignment. We'll see you in the next video. We've now discussed a wealth of foundational parts of the just-in-time system. And while these things are just that, foundational, it is important to also answer the question, what are the benefits of just-in-time? To put it simply, if you have what customers want in the right amount and at the right time, you also have lower overhead expenses, lower supply chain costs resulting in lower customer costs, better control of manufacturing, and better use of space, which ultimately supports an overall reduction in costs. You see, in a traditional manufacturing environment, companies would need to order large quantities of products to get the price break they need to maintain a profit. The downside was that this caused an organization to tie up tons of cash. In addition to this, companies would price items and services by adding a profit margin to their costs. For example, let's take the total cost of materials, labor, and overhead, and you have a cost. Then add 20%, and now you have your market price. The only problem was that this method does not allow organizations to be profitable when the market demands a price. In today's global economy, customers want to buy one item at the same price as 30 items. This is very difficult to achieve. Essentially, customers insist on buying items at a competitive price. To do this, companies need to change their perspective. Instead of looking at items as cost plus profit equals price, they must see the customer's price minus the cost and still have a profit. The just-in-time system helps companies achieve competitive prices. In addition to this, as you remove waste from an organization, the lead time of production, whether information-based or production-based, naturally goes down. Not only does this allow a company to deliver to customers in a timely manner, it also allows an organization to receive quicker returns on their investments. As an organization implements the system known as JIT, waste will go down. When waste goes down, hidden capacity is found. That's right, resources like people, money, machines, and time will be freed up from waiting, defects, and other forms of waste, which in turn allows them to do other value-creating activities. While companies ultimately reap the benefits of the just-in-time system, employees also receive the benefits through their employment. Let's take for an example a company that struggles to meet and pay overhead. Reducing waste enables an organization to free up resources, which in turn creates sustainable employment. The just-in-time system also creates an environment where employees can drive continuous improvement from their frontline observations. This is not only empowering for a company, but it also allows people to share ideas, thoughts, and be parts of improvements. Another effect of the system is reduced frustration. For example, defects and machine problems are minimal as systems like total productive maintenance are implemented and waste is improved. Machines that have demand and remain running are efficient and safer to use as well. Finally, with supporting tools like the 5S system, clutter, debris, and searching for items can be drastically reduced, which makes work much easier and more enjoyable to perform. There is no doubt that the just-in-time system will benefit companies and you. Keep in mind that the benefits of just-in-time and the impact of the system may vary from organization to organization and person to person. With that being said, please consider this thought-provoking question and make it specific to you or your organization. How might the just-in-time system benefit you? You can write your answers down, start a discussion with the community, or answer in the upcoming assignment. After you finish pondering and answering that question, prepare to move on to the next section where we will simplify a sometimes overly complicated concept. See you in the next video. Though they may appear to be the same, value streams, processes, and operations are all different in unique ways. These three terms will be used a lot in this course, so it will be value added to get a clear understanding of what exactly the terms mean. The value stream is the entire set of activities that are required to design, produce, and provide goods or services. Included in every value stream is both information and material flows. When a value stream map is used, you can identify both value-added and non-value-added activities. It's worth noting that most value streams contain more than 70% non-value-adding activities. A process is a sequence of interdependent and linked procedures designed to transform inputs into the desired outputs. Each stage of a process consumes some type of resource. Some parts of a process are intended to create value, while other parts of a process are intended to support the creation of value. Primary processes are end-to-end processes that directly deliver value while focusing on the core creation activities of an organization. Secondary processes support the primary process and do not directly deliver value. To put it simply, processes are a series of steps, actions, or operations that transform or advance materials or information from its current state to another state. Let's take, for example, a part that is machined. A raw material is placed on a machine and transformed into a part. Depending on the process, the part is then transported or moved over to the next step. Once complete, it will likely be inspected or compared to a standard that defines what is acceptable and what is not. Finally, the part may be placed in a warehouse until it is sold or to wait for further processing. This defines 4 basic steps or operations in a process: storage, movement or transportation, inspection, and finally, transformation. Now that we understand a process, let's answer the question, what is an operation? Operations, on the other hand, are the activities, jobs, tasks, or actions that are performed to intentionally change materials or information. Operations can be performed by machines and/or workers. For example, a worker may assemble or disassemble materials in an operation. A clerk may format data in an operation. Or a surgeon may perform some type of operation to transform someone's health. Operations are generally linked together to form a process. With an understanding of value streams, processes, and operations, it's worth noting that all 3 of the above mentioned can be broken down and improved at different levels. So, how can we improve the processes and operations that we perform every day with the just-in-time system? In a traditional organization, the focus is on getting more out of the value-adding activities. For example, If a job is running late, a traditional organization may work overtime, hire more workers, or at times push resources to run longer, harder, and faster than they normally would. While this can at times be valuable, it is not a sustainable way to operate. Operational improvements focus mainly on the actions that are performed and sometimes may not improve the overall production of an organization. The just-in-time system, however, looks at a process and acknowledges the importance of creating value, but focuses primarily on eliminating or reducing waste. This type of focus not only improves the efficiency of operations, processes, and value streams, but it also enhances the effectiveness, improves the quality, advances the agility, as well as reduces costs across an organization. Before we move forward, consider the following question. What types of processes and operations occur in your place of work? You can write your answers down, start a discussion with the community, or answer in the upcoming assignment. In a short time, we will begin looking at the various elements of the just-in-time system. So let's tie everything together before we close. In the just-in-time system, we want the right product at the right time and in the right amount. This is best accomplished with processes that flow smoothly through an organization, and that means eliminating waste. As you ponder the operations and processes that take place in your place of work, pay special attention to those processes you feel may be riddled with waste. In a short time, we will begin introducing some new elements of just-in-time that will help things flow a little better. So, answer the question in this video, and we will see you shortly.